All right, Morgan, thank you so much for allowing me to record this portion of our interview. So I wanted to share something I just found out that you are related to someone that I did just place. So, and he is amazing. I can't speak highly enough about him. And so most recently you were at the Trader Joe's, is it what they call it, their warehouse?
Yeah, it would be their warehouse.
Okay, so you were there, and what were you doing for them?
So I was a logistics dispatcher. Um, Basically, we worked in the shipping office. We were in charge of dealing between the vendors and their, I guess you could say, the people that would hire their drivers and everything. We would
Okay.
work with them and help schedule like deliveries and stuff for the stores.
Hmm.
If there were any issues like with weather or like if there was like some kind of traffic issues, we would also handle that as well. And like pretty much adding stops, just basically working with the whole traffic route
Okay.
and assisting between the stores and the warehouses.
Okay. Were you taking inbound calls when you were doing that, like from the stores or from the drivers?
So it would be a mix of the drivers. Sometimes we would get the stores. It just depends. The stores were kind of like rare. It would only be if we had like any kind of weather changes or traffic changes
Okay.
that would they would settle. But it was mostly between the drivers and the vendors that we would talk to.
So were you doing a lot of admin work for them?
Yes.
Okay.
hmm
Like were you doing any type of reporting, emailing, and
Yes, we would be reporting basically for inventory, and if there was any kind of issues, we would have to log it in the system and basically fax or forward a copy for the vendors if they had any issues that they had to address with us. Filing, creating routes, basically creating paperwork for how much the drivers would get paid. We would make
okay.
that as well.
All right. And then before that, you were with Lowe's as a human
Mhm.
resource assistant. Was that 8 years?
Yeah, my very first job actually when I got out, and it kind of stuck it with me for a while.
All right. Well, so tell me about that job. What did you do there?
So, as a human resource assistant, basically my job was to help kind of like ease off some of like the workload for her when she was trying to do like all of like the paperwork and the interviews and stuff. I would still be in charge of like scheduling the interviews, having them come in, basically sit beside her while she was conducting the interviews with like the assistant store managers because they were the ones that did them. We were just kind of like the, um, I guess you could say the tag along. We were supposed to just kind of like watch and take notes and stuff. Um, Orientation, we would have to set up orientation for any people that were hired and basically walk them through the processes of the jobs that they were paid for, how the system worked, like how to get their schedule and everything. Also, working on their W-2s, like their, I guess you call it verification for their, if
The
they worked like in the United States and everything like that.
I-9 documents.
Yes. As well as trying to schedule employees, like creating schedules for them through the stores based on how many hours we were given for that week. We had to kind of adjust them between the full timers and part timers, as well as like kind of like setting up graphs for how many, like what we would make in a week. That's what we would have to do each day.
Okay. All right. So with doing all of those things, that's a lot of pieces. I know that
Mhm.
similar to what I do, and that requires a lot of multitasking and
Yeah.
organization. How do you keep yourself organized, Morgan?
So basically what I do is I create like a route. I tend to have like a plan B for a plan A and so on and so forth in case something doesn't go on. Lots of note taking, just basically scheduling, making like notes and like calendars and stuff. That was like my go-to for any kind of like if we had any meetings or any calls that we were supposed to schedule for like store manager. If we had like any celebrations we were doing, that was one of the things we would do, as well as I kind of got used to like kind of multitasking, learning from that position a lot. And it kind of like helped me go back and forth between assisting them, assisting the employees, and possibly working with a new hire. But a lot of note taking was what I was really good at and what I did.
All right. And what type of software did you use?
So we kind of had a mix of, so it was PeopleSoft, trying to remember the other one.
What about like the
Office.
I was gonna say Microsoft
Yeah,
Office.
Microsoft Office was one of the big ones we used at both WCD and Lowe's, as well as hmm,
Did you
I
use
think that was
Google?
I think that was mostly the most two that we used between the two. Because Lowe's had like they had like kind of like an older system. So a
Mhm,
lot of theirs was like Genesis, which I don't
mhm.
think a lot of places use very much anymore.
Yeah, not really. Okay, so as far as handling lots of inbound calls, we talked about
Mhm.
that. So, obviously, the position you're applying for is receptionist. You're taking lots of calls, doing lots of multitasking, helping and supporting a team, maybe some possible visitors, mail. You think about anything that happens in that front office area. And you told me that that's something you thrive in, that you answered a lot of calls at previous positions. So I just wanted to
Mhm.
verify that's something that you would be interested in.
Yeah, of course. I've always thrived in a very busy environment. Keeps me active and keeps me going. I kind of got used to it, so that's kind of like the routine work I look for.
Okay, perfect. I'm going to go ahead and stop this part of the interview, but don't go anywhere. We got a few more
Okay.
things to talk about. Thank you.